Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Inspired Books Group coaching call. Today is April 23, 2024. So hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. It's just started, but hopefully everything's going good for you. So we are going to dive into Q&A first. I know Lena's got a question. Reg has a question. We'll address questions first and then go from there. Reg, go ahead.
Okay. The KDP of Amazon misspelled the first version of my cover. I got in contact with them again, and they said in their program, we have the correct cover. So we'll send you the proof with the correct cover. That was the first time. Second time, they sent the same exact version as the first time. Then when I got in contact with another representative, KDP, and tried to get them to synchronize the correct covers, they said, well, that book is out of print. I said, I just sent it in the week before. And they said, well, you're going to have to start from the beginning again. Okay. So in the process, about 2-3 weeks before, I was cleaning out my iCloud, and I cleaned out almost everything. And mistakenly, I cleaned out the files with the source code, the source version of the print. Fortunately, I had it on a drive, and I could bring it up, and I found it in my documents. It was old program, I could bring it up. So I found it, even though I had Jen send me another one. So now I'm in the process of reloading again. And part of me wants to use their launch cover program because they spell the word reinvent correctly. And I said, maybe they won't get their program run. It's a little different from my cover. And what I want to know is, do you think I should use their program or try to send my corrected cover back to them, anticipating the same problem?
All right. First of all, I want to go back to you deleting the stuff off of your drive. Did you check your trash, or do you empty your trash all the time?
I empty my trash all the time.
Okay.
I ended up finding a version of
You
it.
are an efficient guy because I hardly ever empty my trash. So if I accidentally delete something, I'm safe.
Well, your computer starts slowing down after
Oh,
a while.
I know. And I can tell. And then I have to go out. I just forget to do it. It's not because I don't want to do it or anything. I just forget about it. But yeah, so all right. Well, good for you. You're on top of things.
Yeah, there's
All
an
right.
upside to everything and a downside.
So you created your cover elsewhere.
Yeah.
All right. And that's the one that you're having problems with. When you say that they misspelled it, what do you mean they misspelled it? Because you created the cover. So are you saying the cover's wrong or their print up of what they like? How
The
can they print it wrong?
the I'll take responsibility. The original version, there was a I left out of reinvent.
Mm.
And so I saw it and corrected it and sent them the right cover. I saw it in their system as corrected with the I in it. But when they were sending me proof copies, they were all wrong.
Oh.
And after the second time, they said to me, well, you're going to have to start from the beginning again because that book's out of print.
All right. So and this is just for the print book, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're having problems. So what you could do is you can, well, here, let me just show you. Where's my share screen? Okay. Okay. Screen. KDP. All right, so you should be seeing my KDP dashboard. All right, so for your book, like before it's published, like I have this one that I haven't completely set up yet that I was just playing around with to test with. It's not actually one I'm publishing because it's already published. But you go to the three dots and you can say delete ebook or delete, if it's the paperback, you'd go to well, for me it would be unpublished, but since yours isn't published yet, yours should say delete print book.
Mhm.
Okay. So you could click on that and it'll just take that all away. And then you can set up, and just say add new book, and start over that way.
Mhm.
And see if that works. Because it should kind of clear out that particular book
Mhm.
and start over.
Okay.
Are you using their ISBN number, or do you have your own?
For the print book, I was using my own.
Okay. So it never got published. So you can still use that.
Okay.
So you might want to just try it one more time. I know it's taking extra time, but that's when they say you need to start over or whatever, that's what you can do. It's not published, so you can just go ahead and delete that whole setup and then just start all over by resetting it up.
I believe they've deleted it, and so it's kind of easy to set it up again.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Give that a try. And then if not,
I-
if it's still somehow it's stuck in their system, then yeah, go ahead and try uploading using their cover builder, because you can change your cover anytime you want as long as the title and subtitle and author name don't change.
Okay.
So you can change your background all you want to whatever you want, so that's not a problem. You can't change your title, subtitle, and author name once it's published.
Yeah, the only problem was the cover.
Yeah.
The book itself was fine. Everything was great inside the book. It was the cover that was the problem.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get them to isolate on that.
Yeah, try it again. It's been, like I said, if they deleted it, it should be gone. It should be cleared from the system.
Okay.
And just try re-entering everything, and hopefully it'll be cleared out.
Okay.
Can't guarantee anything, but yeah, I think that would clear it up. I would think so. And if not, yeah, then you could try their cover, and then once it's published, go out and then reload the cover.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, you bet. All right. Lena.
Okay, my question is the other way from Reg. Okay, what happened is last week we talked about sending because Connie and Reg agreed to be on my launch team, right? I'm not so organized yet. So I got my formatter to send me back the Word document. So for her, I guess I didn't tell her in upfront to make the edits to my Word document. So it came back as so to speak, the sub-final copy that I sent her. Anyway, she made all the edits on her PDF without updating my Word. So when the Word document came back to me, to my horror, I realized that my book was using English, American English and UK English. I think I had a conversation with Rod anyway, that I said I was going to use US English, and I changed the language in my Microsoft Word, but apparently it didn't convert. I think it convert the first word savior into American English. So I thought, okay, cool, it's done, And I don't know why my Microsoft Word didn't give me the wriggly thing at the bottom to highlight, this is like, you're in this because you're in whatever. So now my question is, I get annoyed when things are not consistent. So I'm thinking of, because I haven't launched my ebook, so I'm thinking that I should really go through my document and make it all US English for my ebook. Okay, I think that shouldn't be an issue. But I think the issue comes when I'm doing my print book, right? Because I already have my ISBN and I have print copies already, right, in Singapore. So now that Reg has I haven't really played around with KDP, but from what I understand is when I'm doing the print book, I have to submit the cover file as well as the text, right? The content of the book, right? So it's like two separate documents,
Yes.
right? So my issue right now is it's not the cover, but it's the content. Like, the spelling will be different. So, uh can I still use the same ISBN number, but with English changed? Or it
Well,
needs to be exactly the same.
yeah, it can be, okay, so you can make changes to a book, as long as it's within like a percentage, I don't know, 10% or whatever. You can go in and, I mean, I've had my first book published for what, 5 years now or whatever. If I wanted to go in and change some spelling that I caught, or even maybe a paragraph, I can do that. Minor changes, you can go and change them and re-upload it. No problem. It's not
Okay.
considered a new book. Now, if I wanted to add a whole nother chapter to it, it would be considered a second edition, and I would need a new ISBN number.
Okay.
Okay. So you can make minor changes, no problem, without having to do a new ISBN number. Yeah, I think it is a good idea. Like if you've got some spelling within the book that is the same word, but spelled differently, make it consistent. Definitely make it
Yeah.
consistent. When I read it, I did catch a couple things. I don't remember where they were, but I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
bother me. It's just, but I noticed it. I did notice it.
Yeah.
So I mean, before you publish, if you notice that kind of stuff, now is your opportunity to go ahead and change it,
Okay,
to
good.
fix it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, very much. It's like I'm kind of like losing sleep for the past 2 days thinking about it. It's like, oh.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead, like in the print book, don't worry about it. I mean, you're not adding to the book, you're not making it longer, and you're just making some minor changes, and that's not even a problem. And you're not published on Amazon anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the same book. You're not changing the title, anything like that. So the ISBN number that you're currently using, you can still use on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
Phew. Yeah.
I try to keep it simple for you guys, but
Thank you.
as if I have any control over it.
Yeah, I think I don't know, sometimes it's good to like make all the mistakes on your first book, right? Though you should not be making some of them.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
I think I don't have a question, but just to share in case you have other clients that's not from America. I think I shared my win. I was trying to set up my KDP and then I realized that I do not have a US bank account. Yeah, so that was quite I think that's an issue if people are not based in USA. So what I did was I had the Wise, it's like a digital bank. So I opened up an account with Wise. And I checked with my cousin's daughter. She's published on Amazon, living in Singapore. So she was saying that the other one is Payoneer, Payoneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was saying that I think that one has got a fee. You need to pay a fee, and I think minimally you can only withdraw like at least like $50 US. So say if you sell your book and you have only less than $50 earnings, you cannot withdraw the amount. Yeah, so just on record for anyone who is not based in USA.
Yeah, that's good. Yep. I'm glad you got that worked out. Yeah, I've heard of Weiss, and I've heard of the Payoneer, however you say that. But I'm not as familiar with that one as I am with the Weiss. That one I've heard of for sure, and people using it. So good. That's a big obstacle to overcome, and that we forget about sometimes.
Actually, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Good. Well, Rod, I know you've got some exciting news, so why don't you share with us?
Today is launch day. Yeah, the book launched. Already has a few sales. The email went out this morning. Facebook all the Facebook posts and everything went out. So looking forward to a good day today.
Yeah, good. Watch your Amazon, everybody, when you do publish, watch it very closely throughout the day. And if you see the #1 new release banner, take a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
You can use that in marketing. I hit #1 in this category, whatever. So it just gives you something else to share. Sometimes we struggle with, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to put on social media. Your screenshots can help you. So watch your book very closely, especially throughout the first week, multiple times throughout the day, because it can switch. You get three categories. You could become #1 in this category, and then you might become #1 in this category. And it's the #1 new release. It's not #1 bestseller. You're not going to see that because the first 30 days is you're considered a new release. So you would get the #1 new release banner, and then in a certain category. Now, if you go to #1 overall in the whole entire store, you're going to become bestseller overall, and you'll get that banner. But otherwise, you're going to see the #1 new release in a certain category. Awesome. Congratulations, Rod.
Thank you.
Exciting. It's a really good book. So if you haven't gotten it yet, go get it, everyone. All right. And Rod took some action on the YouTube. I last week I showed how all my stats and how I was kind of floored by all that. And Rod took some action and put some stuff out there. How's it going?
Well, it was interesting. I put a short out first, and that one almost right away I think it got 23 views and a couple of likes, and I thought, oh wow, well that's a good start. And so then I set up some other shorts to just go in every day for the rest of the week, and then I uploaded a course that I had done, and and the views have been low so far. So I'm starting to push it a little bit more, though. I'm getting the word out to different people to go and look at it and subscribe and like it and all those things. So I think once it gets a little momentum, it'll start to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And the consistency from everything I've learned is really key, is to
Yeah.
try to post every single day, to try to get that traction out there. And I don't know, I mean, like some of my posts now I've seen there's 2 views, 4 views, whatever, and then there's one with the next one is 400 views.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but as I said last week, I noticed those that are more just entertaining get the views, and those that are more content,
Mhm.
even though they're just a short, they're not getting the views.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, if you want to grab people's attention and get them to know about you and your channel, do something a little more entertaining, maybe uplifting, maybe a quote or something like that, whatever. Have your logo. I put my logo right on my reels, and then down below in your description, put your website, whatever else, any links you want to put, and then put the content that you really want them to learn under your regular videos. So they have to be longer. I'm not sure exactly how long a reel has to be before it goes from being a short to considered a regular video. I'm not sure if it's a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That I don't know. I haven't gotten that far into it yet, but yeah, that's kind of what I discovered in my short little YouTube life. All right. All right. Anything else? All right. So before I jump into what I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to share with you some exciting news that I have personally. I'm calling this that I have been given the opportunity to have a 2-week sabbatical with the Lord. That's how I'm looking at it. So you will never guess in a million years where I'm going. My husband has a business trip, so this is where this all came from. I am going to Saudi Arabia,
Ooh. Ooh.
leaving on Friday of this week for 2 weeks. So Rod has graciously decided to, or, agreed to be your coach for the next 2 weeks. In fact, he's so excited, he thought he was going to coach today. I'm like, no, I get 1 more week. So anyways, yeah, so I'm going to Saudi Arabia, and we're going to be on the Persian Gulf side, and we'll be staying at a resort on a bay. Resort sounds fancy, but it's just what they call it. So it's the closest to where he works, but the major city that we'll fly into that is close by is Dammam. And yeah, so I mean, I'll be at the hotel like all the time because there's nothing but hotels around me where I'm going to be staying. And I would not feel comfortable going out anyways by myself. So, I don't have to wear the black, what I call a robe, or the head, the hijab or whatever it's called. I don't have to wear that. They do recommend I take, a scarf with, so that if I do go anywhere where they might require it, that I have it. And if I wanted to go inside of a mosque, I would be required to wear it, which I have no desire to go inside of a mosque, but at any rate, I do have to dress modestly, kind of like Africa, only much stricter than Africa. So very loose clothing, so kind of layered up, and have to be covered up here and so forth. But so anyways, that's my exciting news. I'll be leaving on Friday, gone for 2 weeks, and you'll be in good hands with Rod. He's already ready to dive in. So, so just ask that you guys would pray while I'm gone for safe travels and for, just God to speak to me. I mean, my husband's got to work from 7 to 5 every day. So I'm, by myself, and I can go probably I think I can go sit down by the Gulf. I'm not sure, the bay. I cannot check into the hotel without having a male, either a father, a husband, or a brother, or some family member. So, but I think that I can roam around by myself. So we'll find out. Different. It's gonna be different, but I'm excited about it. I was really nervous at first, but now I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's an adventure. So yeah, right. You're right, Lena. Wherever I go, I think I have to, but hopefully not on the hotel grounds, I'm hoping. Because otherwise I will literally be confined to my room for 10 hours a day. So all right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about improving your writing. And what Rod talked about last week about finding some different either pronouns or tenses or whatever in who he was talking to, like we versus you or whatever it was. That's one thing. And then what Lena just brought up, it all kind of leads into this. I talked a few weeks ago about, going back to your why. Why do you want to write your book? And then mapping out steps to help you reach that why. I mean, your why is a goal. And like any other goal, there's steps that you need to take to reach that. Well, in order to improve your writing, I think it's good to go back to who your audience is, or your one, which is an acronym standing for one needing expertise. Who is that one that you're writing to? And when you understand them, then you can write to them. And that all, there's so many things that can come into play with that. For instance, like what Lena was just talking about, you have the European English and then you have the American English. Well, if you're writing a book and your main market is going to be Europe, then you're going to want to talk in their language. You're going to want to write in their language. I was just watching a video yesterday, I think it was on something, and she brought this very thing up about how and she was talking about doing your research for, you know, your book or whatever, but you have to know your market. Like if you're like she was talking about low content books. Like if you're doing a coloring book, okay, if someone's going to search for a coloring book in the US, they're going to search for COLORING. But if they're going to search for a coloring book in Europe, it's going to be COLOURING. And so understanding the different markets, like where is your primary audience, and making sure that you're writing, you know, grammar wise to them, spelling wise to them, slang. Who's your audience? Do they use slang? You know, if your book needs to be written in a slang type of language to reach your particular audience, then that's what you're going to need to do. So understanding your one is important into improving your writing. It's not just about who you market to, but it's also who you're writing to. It's how you write your book. Some other examples would be if you're writing a book to help somebody get out of debt, is going to be written differently than writing a book to someone who's got a 6-figure business and you're writing to them on how to scale it to a 7-figure business. Those are some hardcore business people, and you can probably talk bluntly and, you know, matter of factly to them. And this is what you're going to need to do. And, you know, boom, someone who's, you know, struggling to get out of debt, you might need to speak some hard truths to them, but maybe in a little softer tone, you know, as to not offend them. You know, so there's all kinds of different scenarios where, you know, you're going to change how you write depending on who your audience is. How you write to teens is going to be different than how you're going to write to adults. One would think anyways. But, you know, even the type of book, you know, we're mostly focused on nonfiction, but if you're doing a fiction book, you know, then there's a whole lot of other things that come into play. You know, who's your characters and all that kind of stuff. You know, do they have a Southern accent or don't they? You know, are they from Europe? You know, do they have that kind of a accent? And again, how they speak. And then the consistency throughout your book. Again, going back to Lena, you know, where some of those changes didn't take into effect when she changed it to US English. And so some words, they're the same word, but they just have the different spelling. And so you want your work to have a consistency to it. And all of this, what all of this does is it helps to give your reader a better experience. They're gonna enjoy your book more if you're writing directly to them. They're gonna feel like they pick up that book and they're gonna like, man, I feel like she wrote this book for me. Or man, I feel like he's talking to me. That's a good book when you feel that when you're reading that book. And so, you know, when we're talking about improving the quality of your writing, yes, it includes your punctuation, it includes your spelling, all of that. And if you need help with that, you can get my book, Self-Editing. You know, I wrote that book because I worked with Jennifer Bateman, the editor, and it was just talking to her about different common things that she sees, as well as in one of my writing groups, editors, you know, answering people's comments and saying, you know, this is one of the most common things I see, da 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 da. And that's what gave me the idea to write the book. Some of the most common things that editors see coming across their desk. And so, I felt like if you know some of those things up front, you can address them as you're writing and not have to go back and do all those corrections. One of them was, and this isn't as common anymore as our generation starts to fade, so to speak, is the double spacing after a period. If any of you were in typing class like me, you learned when you hit a period, you'd space. Well, computers came along and that's already built in, so you don't do that. And so they were seeing a lot of that. And so when I mean us fading away, I mean there's so many more generations now below us that didn't ever learn that, and they don't have to unlearn it where we have to unlearn that. So that was just one of them. And I put it in the book because there's a lot of people who still were trained that way, and maybe they're not active on the computer, but now they're writing a book and they don't even realize that. So, but that was, that's just an example of a common error. Those all come into play with better writing. That's more of the mechanicals of it, just your presentation is what I would classify that as. Your presentation is going to be better if you have the right kind of punctuation, when to use quotation marks, when not. Does the exclamation point or the period go inside the quotes? Does it go outside? Those are the kinds of things that I touched on in that book. So as you're writing, you can try to do some of that, and the better you understand that, you don't have to think about it as much, and you don't have to go back and clean it up, and then an editor doesn't have to spend all that time. And you remember, editors are people too, and if they're having to clean up a manuscript that has a lot of errors in it, it's likely they're going to miss something for sure, because that's why I say do your self-editing at least twice. Go through your book at least twice at a minimum, because you're not going to catch them all in the first sweep. And the first sweep is usually quite extensive in changes. You're adding, you're subtracting, and then the second sweep is a little bit more just kind of cleanup. And you might even want to do a third. I usually do probably at least 3, no less than 3, but 2 is the minimum that you're going to want to do. And really it should be more than that. But that's all your presentation. Your actual writing, your content, you improve that by, again, knowing who your audience is and writing directly to them. It goes back to even your mind mapping and your outlining, knowing the content that you want to put in your book, so that you have something to go by, something to look at and say, oh yeah, that's right, I wanted to put that in the book. Or you might completely forget about it. Having maybe a beta reader. I think I've told you guys a story when I wrote my book. My husband had proofread it for me, and he's like, well, what about whatever? And I don't remember what that was, but it was something that I had completely forgotten about, because that was all like part of my healing. And so it wasn't like front and center in my brain anymore, but it was very important to the story. So like Rod has his wife read his books, and especially if your book has anything to do that's personal to you. Like for me, my first book was my story. Having somebody read it that also knows your story can maybe pick up on some of that. And that can all play into improving the quality of your book, the quality of your writing. Excuse me. Some other things that I talked about, or I thought about, is there's different styles of writing. There's descriptive, narrative, expository, and persuasive. And you can have a combination of those or you can pick one, or you don't necessarily have to pick it. It might kind of pick you. When I first started writing, I didn't really know about those, and I just wrote my story from my heart. And as I've shared with you before, one of my friends said it's just so conversational. It's like I can picture us sitting at the table having a cup of coffee, as you tell your story. That would be probably narrative and maybe some descriptive in there. Expository is where you're usually exposing something. You're explaining a topic, you have facts maybe to back it up. Persuasive is trying to, get people to understand a point and persuade them to that point, or, just like in selling, you're trying to persuade them to buy. So you can decide, like, I want to write my book in this style. You can, but I would prefer that you don't get caught up in that as much as writing it from your heart. And then as you go through your self-editing, taking a look at, how did I write this? Like, are you jumping all over the place? Meaning, are you talking in first person, I, and then you and we and us, and you're all over that way. And then you're like, you should do this, which is kind of commanding, which might fall under the persuasive type of writing, versus just trying to describe a situation or whatever. So, when you go through your self-editing, really take a good hard look at, what does this sound like? And that's why I tell you to read it out loud too. What does this sound like? Are you jumping all over the place? Is this making sense? And is there a style that's kind of coming out of you? If you are a fiction reader at all, you know that fiction readers especially have a style. And keeping within that style is really important. A lot of that has to do with their characters. You can't be switching up a character to be in this way and then they're this way, and and so you have to be consistent, because usually they have series of books with the same character, and so you have to have that style. Your reader gets used to that. With a nonfiction book, you can change that up more. Nonfiction books, are wide range of topics. And they can fall into what you would call self-help, a lot of them. Well, self-help can be helping somebody out of debt. It can be helping somebody with weight loss. Self-help is a broad range, so you can have different styles of writing within them. You can pick a style. Like, I know Diane kind of likes to use that recipe type of style. Now, that's not what you would call a classified style of writing, but it's her style of writing. That would, I don't know, maybe fall under maybe descriptive in a way or something. But she's kind of developing a style of writing, and that's really cool, because even in nonfiction, you can develop a certain style of writing. You don't have to. I'm not telling you have to. I'm just giving you, that there are different styles. And also not to get hung up on, like I said, I don't want you going into writing and you're writing and you're like, oh, this doesn't sound descriptive. I would rather you sit down and just write, and don't worry about your style. Because I think for nonfiction, I think your style kind of just comes out of you, because with nonfiction, you're usually writing more out of your heart, out of some experience that you've gone through. And so the style will kind of come through and what you're telling. And then when you do your self editing, you can clean that up and make, like I said, making sure that you're not all over the place with how you're addressing things, who you're talking to, and so forth. Now, another thing that can help with your writing is that all falls under understanding who your one is the length of your book. And you don't have to sit down and necessarily say, I'm going to write a 100-page book, or I'm going to write a 200-page book, or I'm going to write a 50-page book. You don't necessarily have to decide that up front. You might have in mind that you want to write more of a short story. Like Rod's book was 50 some pages. Lena's, I think, was 80 some. Connie's, I think yours was 90 or something like that. You know, anything under 100 is really considered short. But I don't think any of you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of you sat down and said, I only want to write a 50-page book, and that's all it came out to be. You wrote what you needed to write. You know, the question has come up in many groups and stuff. Well, how long should my book be? Well, as long as it needs to be to get your message across. Now, taking Rod's book, for example, I think Rod could have wrote a 200-page book. He could have gone on and on and on and just done all kinds of analogies and whatever. He could have wrote a really long book and it would have been good. He could have written 2 books. He could have written a book for the people who are unbelievers that maybe don't quite understand what the rapture is and want to learn more about it. And then he could have wrote a separate book for those who are left behind. And that would have been totally successful doing that. He very successfully, and this is very difficult to do, so it's not something I recommend everybody do, but Rod very successfully combined 2 audiences into one and made it a condensed book, which would fall under Amazon's short stories, and with a powerful punch told what needed to be told. That's an art. Kudos to you, Rod. Like, I applaud you, because that is a very difficult thing to do. I told you the story a couple different times of, you know, the guy that I was on his launch team, he had 2 different audiences. He had the teenagers and he had the parents and teachers. And he did not successfully combine that book, in my opinion. That should have been 2 separate books with language to a teenager and language to the parent. Now, one difference between that and Rod's book is those are coexisting audiences. Rod's audiences are back-to-back audiences. They're simultaneous audiences. One reads it now, and one reads it when this audience is gone. So they're not competing against each other. So the length of your book, you know, if you're able to get your message across with such power in a shorter book, then that might be the way to go, because especially in today's world, people are microwave society. We want everything fast. We want short books. We want quick solutions, you know, whatever it is, it's quick, quick, quick. And so if you can write a shorter book, you know, under 100 pages and get your message across, then I think you know, are going to do real well. It's not to say a longer book won't do well. If your book needs to be 150 pages to really get that message across, then so be it. Don't get caught up in how long your book is if your message isn't getting across. Go that extra distance and add those few extra pages or chapters. And if it's something that is just really like, you just need to explain this, and there's different topics or whatever. Maybe you have 2 books. And if you need to break it into 2 books, well, now you're going to improve your writing in each one of those books, because now you can focus on the details of those topics even more. So those are just some ways. And one of the things too, I think, with books, I think we were maybe taught longer is better, more content, whatever. But we're in a different world now where everybody wants it fast. It doesn't mean you can't have a successful book if it's 200 pages long. There's lots of books that are being printed at 200 pages long, and they're very dynamic books, So if your message is compelling, people are going to read it. It doesn't matter if it's 50 pages or 200 pages. They're going to read it if it's a quality book. If the message is good, it's well written, they're still going to read it. These are just some things to think about, though, as you're writing. What can you do differently? Maybe change your thought process on something. I don't know, just after Rod brought that up, and then Lena had posed a question, I'd already had this plan, but her question kind of fed right into it, so it was it was really good. I just wanted to kind of talk about that. And there's so many other ways really to improve your writing, like using prompts, word prompts, or something just to help you get started, or if you're stuck or something, prompts can help you. Writing with the end in mind, working backwards. You know how you want this to turn out, so to speak, and you have that end result in mind, can help you work through the rest of your book. Yeah, I don't know, just lots of different ways to improve your writing. Those are just some ideas that I came up with to, maybe go back and re-examine or whatever. It's always a good idea to stay focused on that, and again, the whole grammar, punctuation, all that kind of stuff. If you know that in advance, that can save you some time during your self-editing process. But again, when you're writing, the most important thing is to write, to get that story out of your head, and then during your self-editing process, you can do whatever you want with it, add to it, subtract from it, clean it up, improve your writing. Change up your words, your vocabulary. Like, I think I mentioned to you guys, I use a lot of the same words, and then I also use "and so" a lot, but go out and do what's a synonym for this word. Maybe you use a word a lot. Well, what's a synonym for this word, and use different words. Use a different way to describe something. Maybe you describe something in a certain way and you use that same way over and over and over again. Maybe try to come up with a new way of describing something, and expand your vocabulary with some new words to spice up, so that all your books maybe don't sound the same. I mean, you want your readers to recognize you, but at the same time, you don't want everything to sound repetitive, and you don't want it to get boring or whatever. So just finding some new words, using adjectives, adverbs, synonyms for words that you use a lot, replace it with something else, especially within the same book, is really what I'm getting at. If you use the same word over and over throughout the book, then you might want to do a search for synonyms so that you're using a different word, so your reader doesn't get bored with seeing that same word over and over again. So just some thoughts, feedback, questions.
Actually, I want to ask Rod. I think Rod ever shared that when he was in school, the teacher kind of picked up that you are a writer, right? So do you think that it's a gift, or, what contributed to you being like a good writer?
I think it can be both. I don't know that I was necessarily a gifted writer as much as I just really liked to write from a young age. So, any in school, anytime we could write, do an essay or something like that, I really enjoyed that. All the other kids hated it, but I really enjoyed it. But I know people, I've got friends who are writers who weren't that way. And they learned how to write. They took writing classes and attended seminars and developed the writing skill. So I think it can be both.
Would reading, like, I think sometimes people think that you need to read like from different authors, right? Because I think, like I said, I think I'm a bit dyslexic, so reading wasn't, I do bad in school when it comes to reading, but when it comes to essay writing, I don't know why is it that I do better writing, though I don't read. So I'm just like curious to see if reading does contribute to being a better writer.
I think it does. Some of the best writers that I've met, that was one of the questions I like asking writers is, do you enjoy reading? And it's always been yes, that they loved reading from a young age. And I mean, I remember during the summer we had a library over near our house, and my brother is totally opposite of me. So he hated reading, hates writing, hates reading. And, he'll listen to a book through Audible, but he won't read a book. And, but we'd go to the library and we'd pick out books, and, I'd pick out 10 books, and, the next week I was all done with 10 books and turn them back in. So, I think there's just, I think some people are just, again, I think it's, some people just love to read and some people don't. I've got a friend who's a very good writer and he's dyslexic. So, he's never been a reader, but he's a very good writer. But he's one of those that he developed the skill. He wasn't necessarily a natural writer. He wasn't very good in school. Actually didn't even finish high school, but he developed his writing skill, through classes and things like that. So yeah, so I think, yeah, I think maybe your natural writers are probably more of the readers than the ones that develop the skill of writing, but both can be very good writers and be very successful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think there are those who are gifted, it's just like anything else. Some have the gift. Um, but then there's, those that wouldn't be necessarily be considered gifted that can learn, except taking writing courses. And the thing of it is too, the more you write, I think the better you get. Because you start getting more comfortable with it. But I also would agree that if you read a lot, and I'm like, Rod's brother and, others that don't necessarily like to read a lot. But the more you read, I think it expands your knowledge and ideas and styles of writing. And I think it can maybe even osmosisly, is that a word? Enter into you. So I think it opens you up to just creativity in itself, different styles, different vocabulary and ways of writing and things like that. And I think that you can pick up on some of that without necessarily intentionally doing that. But then when you go to write, that's kind of, now it's in your brain. You read it, it's in your brain, and some of those ideas might just kind of pop into your head as you're writing because you read something like that. So yeah, I think I would agree with Rod on all of that. Good. Anything else? Quiet group today. No other questions?
Connie looks like you're gonna ask something.
Go for it, Connie.
You're
See,
muted, Connie.
let's see. I just wanted to say that you all are all so blessed and talented and creative. I love to listen. I was just going to say thank you. I couldn't get to my computer to type right. Yeah, but thank you so much for what you bring to our group. It is such a joy to be here. And Kathy, you are remarkable and amazing, and I love everything that you do for us. I appreciate it so much. I'm just very, very grateful because I know that it encourages me, inspires me, and gets me up and going. I am trying not to procrastinate about my time. That's the main thing. I'm getting closer and closer to getting my little book done and putting the bigger one together. And I get a start and then I get interrupted in getting back to it. But I'm going to be better. And thank you for your prayers, and I'm praying for you all too. And I have to say, I just, every time I see Diana, I am so excited about her recipe book and about the creativity that she has with that. And Rod, I am really, really blessed by your new book on the rapture, and we'll talk about that later too. But I am just really, guys, for such a time as this, I give a little prophetic on the side, you know that. But I really know that this is a really pivotal time for all of us to bring things into the kingdom that God's not super ordained too, but preordained for us to do. It is really a new day. And so, wow. And Kathy, I'm going to be praying because I just believe when you go on your trip that God's going to give you new perspective and download some pretty cool stuff to you. So just get ready for that. I'm not sure exactly what an opportunity to view things from a new perspective. Wow.
Yeah.
And I just say, wow. So anyway, that was what I was just going to say. Thank you guys. I love you guys. You are so, so great. And I appreciate what we do so much in our times together.
Yeah. Thank you, Connie. Appreciate that. And it's thank you for sharing that about everybody else. It's it's nice to hear that sometimes. Just that you do recognize, you recognize what other people are doing, and I think that's wonderful. And just as far as writing goes too, it's like I know sometimes, like you guys know my life has been absolutely insane lately, but and that happens. Life happens, right? But otherwise, if life is kind of normal right now for you, we're all in different seasons and such. There's two things you can do for writing is you can, schedule yourself to write every single day, or 5 days out of the week, whatever you can. If there's a certain time of the day that you can do it every day, then do that and put it in your calendar. It's an appointment. And if someone wants you to do something, oh, sorry, I have an appointment during that time. Make it a priority. The other thing is you can kind of like binge write, like when I wrote my first book, I would take like a Saturday or Friday or whatever day I might have, and I'd sit down and I'd write for like 3 hours because I could. And and stuff was, flowing out of me. If after an hour I just couldn't feel like I couldn't write anymore, I wouldn't force it. But if you've got a day off, so to speak, and you just have stuff in you, You sit down to write and you can keep writing, take advantage of that time, really use it. So, I know sometimes writing every day is hard and, but if you can do it, sometimes you can use those days for research, or you can just write, and maybe you don't necessarily feel like writing, but you sit down, you start writing, and next thing you know, you're writing, you're doing it. I know it's like sometimes, like, I don't want to go buy groceries, I don't want, sit and I'll procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate and finally get up and do it, and it's just like, once I'm at the store, it's no big deal. It's just getting myself to go do something. Writing can be the same way, it's like, oh, I don't feel like writing today, give it a try, force yourself to sit down and write, see how it goes. Maybe your first page is junk, but then it starts to flow, work through it, work through the pain, so to speak. And everybody has to find what works for them. Just experiment and try, and because there's a certain somebody that doesn't want you to publish your book, especially if it's a book that has anything to do with God. He will do everything, he can to get you distracted, to get you busy, get you not feeling like you want to write. And that's when we really need to push through, is when that enemy is coming against us. Because as Connie said, for such a time as this, God's given us voices and we need to use them. There's people that need to hear what you have to say. And, and even if it's not a spiritual book, just in everyday life, there are things that we need to hear. People need help maneuvering through life in general. And when we can maneuver through life, whether it's a loss or whatever it might be, even that the enemy doesn't want published, because if that can better somebody's life and now they can go on and serve the Lord, guess what? He doesn't want your book written either. So we have to sometimes just push through that. So, well, you guys, thank you for being here. You are in good hands with Rod the next couple of weeks. I'll be back in 3 weeks, God willing. And I'm not sure if the replays will get up or not. Rod, you can send me the link. If I'm able to upload them, I will. If not, then Rod could email the link out to everybody so you can have the replay. But I'm supposed to have internet access, but internet access doesn't necessarily mean that I can always access everything. I know when I was in Ireland a few years ago, there were some things that it was blocked because I was out of the country. So, but like Groove, where I upload it, that's a a worldwide organization. People from all over the world use Groove, so it shouldn't be a problem. But just be aware, if you're looking for the replay and you can't find it, that might be why. So, all right. God bless. Love you guys. Can't wait to share with you whatever God shares with me. If you'll let me. So have a great couple of weeks. Be blessed. Love you guys.
Thanks,
Have a great
Kathy.
trip.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.